Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place you come to sift through, a whole stack of sources, pull out the key insights, and really give you a shortcut to being well-informed. Today, we're diving into a pretty interesting collection. 11 social media posts, all from daily vibecasting, tech, politics, and culture, specifically from June 18th and 19th, 2025.
That's right. And it gives us this really fascinating snapshot of what was buzzing online those couple of days. We're talking tech, innovation, global affairs, market trends. It's all in there. So our mission today is to explore these posts, understand the bigger picture, the context, and maybe uncover some surprising links between them and, try to keep a balanced view, even on some of the more diverse topics.
Okay, sounds good. Let's jump right in then because, wow, these posts really cover a lot of ground. It's like a little window into the conversations happening right then. The AI landscape. Talent wars, innovation, and hallucination solutions. All right, first up, kicking things off in the tech world. We've got a potential AI bombshell here. Post 1 from @RoAnsheng mentions Sam Altman claiming Meta is offering, get this, a $100 M signing bonus to poach talent from OpenAI.
$100 million.
Yeah.
That's a headline number, isn't it?
It absolutely is. Now, Altman apparently said this on the Uncapped podcast, and it's worth noting neither Meta nor OpenAI has actually confirmed that specific figure.
Right, unsubstantiated.
But it does fit a pattern, doesn't it? There was that McKinsey Global Institute trend noted back in 2023, showing tech giants boosted their AI talent acquisition budgets by, 40%. It points to this really fierce competition, especially around AGI development.
Yeah, the talent war is very real. And Altman wasn't just talking money, right? He also claimed OpenAI is ahead on innovation.
Exactly. He pointed to those 2024 AI2 Reasoning Challenge benchmarks. OpenAI models scoring 78%, Meta's at 65%.
So asserting dominance there, too.
And this is all happening while AI itself is advancing incredibly fast. Like Google rolled out Gemini 2.5 just the day before, June 17th, and it introduced a 1 million token context length. That's huge. It could really shift priorities towards these more scalable reasoning models.
It's fascinating here. It isn't just the big numbers, the $100 million. It feels like a strategic shift. If you connect the dots, the race isn't just for, smart people anymore. It's about who builds the fundamental architecture that can scale reasoning. That million token context length is a big deal for that. It makes you wonder, how much does snapping up individual human talent really matter when the AI models themselves are making these massive leaps?
Good question. And speaking of AI capabilities, or maybe lack thereof sometimes, post 4 from @aditch. This one talks about a potential fix for that nagging AI problem, hallucination. When AI just makes stuff up.
Ah, yes, the hallucination issue, a persistent one.
So, someone claims they've created a prompt, they're calling it a reality filter, that supposedly stops ChatGPT from hallucinating.
Interesting. How does it supposedly work?
Well, the idea is it enforces strict rules. Like the AI has to label anything unverified, avoid speculating, that kind of thing. Apparently inspired by a Reddit thread from May.
Okay, so prompt engineering is a solution.
Yeah, but here's the contrast. A 2025 New York Times report apparently indicated hallucination rates are actually getting worse. They cited OpenAI's O3 and O4 mini models showing 51% and even 79% hallucination rates.
Wow, 79%. That suggests just tweaking the prompt might not be enough, right? It might be a more fundamental issue.
Seems like it. I mean, a 2024 study in the Journal of Artificial Intelligence Research did find structured prompts can help.
Reduce it a bit.
Right, maybe by 15-20%, but maybe not eliminate it. The post also mentions decentralized verification systems, like Mirror Network's Clock app, using blockchain for external validation.
Okay, so that raises a really important point about the limits of prompt engineering. It can help, sure, but maybe the core problem, which is tied to how these models learn from vast data, needs something more fundamental, maybe external checks like that Clock app idea. It just highlights this ongoing struggle, doesn't it? Making AI not just fluent, but actually accurate and trustworthy. 2, transportation and infrastructure, robo-taxis, and American manufacturing.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Moving into transportation, post 2 from @Tesla, it's just this cryptic question. Guys, what if the taxis were robots? Sounds like sci-fi, but
Yeah.
maybe not for long.
Yeah, classic Musk teaser style.
Yeah.
But it lines up perfectly with what he said on CNBC back in May, right?
Exactly. He confirmed a pilot launch. 10 self-driving taxis hitting Austin, Texas, supposedly by late June. So very imminent.
The robotaxi future arriving.
But, not so fast. There are still major safety concerns. There was that really concerning incident just a few days before this post, June 16th, in Pennsylvania.
I saw that. The Tesla stuck on the tracks. Wow.
Yeah, a Model 3, supposedly in self-driving mode, gets stuck on train tracks, hit by a train. Awful.
Terrible. And it feeds right into public anxiety.
Totally. Those AAA studies from 2023 showed, 40% of U.S. drivers felt less safe knowing autonomous vehicles are on the road, mainly because they worry about human oversight failing.
Yeah, that trust factor is critical.
Yet, despite all this, Tesla drops this post. It was just hours before some hinted surprise event. Maybe that first autonomous vehicle delivery they talked about for June 28th.
Could be. It shows Tesla's still pushing hard, probably leveraging all that real-world driving data they have, which is an edge over competitors like Waymo.
Definitely pushing hard.
You know, if you zoom out, it's that classic innovation dilemma, isn't it? The huge promise of a revolution versus the very real, sometimes tragic, safety challenges. That Pennsylvania incident is just such a stark reminder. Even with sophisticated tech, you get unexpected situations, human factors. And the consequences shape public opinion. They shape regulations. It's a tough path.
Yeah, it really is. Now, staying sort of in the realm of products and promises, let's talk manufacturing. Post 3, this one from @RPS Against Trump, calls it a shocker. It reveals the all-American T1 smartphone.
A one promoted by Donald Trump's family business.
That's the one. Turns out it's manufactured in China.
Not quite all-American then.
Nope. Directly contradicts the marketing. And this isn't just speculation. Reuters reported on June 16th about the lack of serious domestic smartphone manufacturing infrastructure in the U.S.
Right. The high labor costs, the supply chains are mostly overseas. It's hard to do here at scale, especially for a consumer electronic like a phone.
And it seems to fit a pattern. Other Trump-branded products have been found to be made in China before. Eric Trump even sort of admitted on his podcast that the initial T1 shipments might not be U.S.-made.
So acknowledging the reality of global manufacturing, which, World Bank data from 2023 showed China's manufacturing sector was like 25% of its GDP. It's huge.
The real kicker, though, is the irony. This is happening while Trump's past trade policies specifically targeted Chinese manufacturing.
Right. A CNBC piece from May mentioned his administration demanding reduced Chinese production. So the policy clashes with the practical economics of making a $499 smartphone.
It's quite the clash.
Yeah. What's really fascinating there is seeing that direct collision between political rhetoric, the Made in America push, and the cold, hard economic realities. Bringing manufacturing back, especially complex electronics, isn't just about wanting it. It's deeply tangled up in global supply chains, labor costs, existing infrastructure. It's complicated. It really makes you ask, how does a country balance those protectionist goals with the way the global economy actually works?
Right.
3, political and geopolitical insights. Strategic ambiguity, ideological divides, and influence.
Okay, let's pivot now. Geopolitics, political strategy. Post 6 from @ColinRugg. It captures this moment where Donald Trump is asked by a reporter about possible U.S. plans to strike Iranian nuclear facilities. And Trump just sort of humorously brushes it off, dismisses the question, and in the background, you can apparently hear construction workers laughing.
Interesting scene. What's the takeaway there?
Well, it arguably highlights Trump's use of strategic ambiguity, that tactic in foreign policy where you deliberately keep adversaries guessing about your intentions, especially military ones.
Right. Don't reveal your hand. Keep them uncertain.
Exactly. And the laughter from the workers, maybe that suggests something about how some parts of the public view those kinds of media interactions with Trump, like a disconnect between the D.C. bubble and, everyday concerns.
A potential read on public sentiment, yeah.
And this is all happening, remember, against a backdrop of pretty high U.S.-Iran tensions. Leaders on both sides were talking about war, but also negotiations.
So Trump's dismissal fits that pattern, opposing Iran's nuclear program, but keeping the door open for talks.
Seems to align with that, yeah. Keeping options open, keeping people guessing.
That strategic ambiguity, it's always a double-edged sword. It can deter, maybe, but it also creates a lot of uncertainty in what's already a really volatile region. And it makes you wonder, in today's world, with information flying around instantly, how well can you really maintain that kind of ambiguity? And what are the long-term effects on stability? It's tricky.
Very tricky. Now, speaking of interesting moments involving Trump, Post 11 from @EricEldo. This one shows a picture, apparently, of a crane operator who looks like he's nodding off, maybe napping, while Trump is nearby, shaking hands with other workers. It's kind of a funny human image.
Okay. But what's the context? Why is this relevant?
Well, the backdrop is still that June 18th date,
Hmm.
with all the Middle East tensions bubbling, especially between Israel and Iran, and Trump had warned about potential U.S. involvement.
So high-stakes geopolitics in the background.
Right. But here's this crane operator, seemingly just zoned out or focused on his break, despite the high-profile visitor nearby. People on Reddit apparently jumped on this, talking about how crane operation needs intense focus. Maybe he was just resting his eyes.
Right, the demands of the job.
Exactly. So it creates this really stark contrast, doesn't it? The gravity of the world situation versus this very mundane, everyday moment.
That juxtaposition is really striking. It's a powerful reminder, isn't it, that even when huge global events are unfolding and leaders are engaging, everyday life just continues. People are focused on their jobs, their routines. It highlights the different scales we all operate on simultaneously, kind of grounding in a way.
Yeah, it is. Okay, now this brings us to a really interesting ideological discussion. We've got posts 7 and 10. They're from at Matt Walsh blog and at Midas Search, respectively. And they're both digging into Senator Ted Cruz's stance on Israel, particularly his use of biblical interpretations.
Okay, Cruz in Israel. This sounds like it could touch on some deep divides.
It does. Matt Walsh is critiquing Cruz for citing biblical mandates to justify supporting Israel's actions. Walsh argues that, in his view, Christians don't have a biblical obligation to support the modern state of Israel, which he sees as a political entity.
So distinguishing between biblical Israel and the modern nation state, that's a known theological debate.
Exactly. And it reflects a broader rift growing within conservative circles. You might remember that really heated interview Cruz had with Tucker Carlson, where Carlson challenged him hard on Iran and U.S. involvement in the Middle East.
Right. It's part of that same reevaluation. The core of the debate here is how you interpret Israel in Christian theology.
You have some, like Cruz seems to be arguing, who see a kind of divine mandate carrying over to the modern state.
And others, like Walsh, who argue the church is the fulfillment of biblical Israel, separating those ancient promises from current geopolitics. Yeah, that's a complex intersection of faith, history, and modern foreign policy. These differing interpretations really show how religious texts can be applied or argued over in shaping political stances today. It can lead to deep splits, even within groups that seem aligned on other things. It definitely points to a rethinking of some long-held conservative positions on the Middle East.
Right. And actually, before we shift fully to culture, let's squeeze in post 5. It's just a target emoji, A, from at Elon Musk.
Okay, another cryptic Musk post. What's this one about?
It references a website, xdoge.us, which is linked to his endorsement of something called the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE.
DOGE. Okay, like the cryptocurrency.
Exactly, playing on that. But this DOGE is described as a real 2025 initiative. The goal: cut $2 trillion in federal waste.
$2 trillion. Ambitious. And this aligns with Musk's advisory role with the Trump administration.
Apparently so. The post also alludes to a 5 to 6 minute time frame.
That sounds like
a nod to Dogecoin's super fast creation back in 2013 and maybe its rapid value surges.
leveraging crypto culture for government efficiency.
Yeah. And the post mentions Jerome Powell's comments from late 2024 comparing Bitcoin to gold, suggesting maybe that boosts DOGE's credibility indirectly. Though, obviously, no real studies link crypto memes to cutting government waste.
Right. It's more about branding and promotion. It's a classic example, isn't it? How influential figures can use their platform, tap into cultural trends like meme coins to push an initiative. Whether DOGE actually cuts $2 trillion, well, that remains to be seen. But the way it's being launched is certainly memorable. 2V, culture and society, faith, fame, and sports.
Okay, let's definitely shift gears now. More into culture and society. Post 8 from @LeadingReport. This shares something quite remarkable. YoungHoon Kim, who holds the record for the world's highest verified IQ 276, verified in 2024.
IQ 276, that's extraordinary.
Right. He has announced his belief that Jesus Christ is God.
Wow. Okay, that's quite a statement from someone recognized for their intellect.
Exactly. It kind of challenges those, common secular assumptions about highly intellectual people. The post included an image of a crucifixion, which obviously ties into core Christian theology about sacrifice. And they note archaeological finds like first-century crucifixion nails in Jerusalem, lending historical context.
So linking the personal belief to broader historical and theological frameworks.
Yeah, and interestingly, this announcement happened around the same time a 2025 Washington Examiner report came out. It noted Gen Z showing an increased interest in strong religion, citing things like UK church attendance among 18 to 24-year-olds jumping from 4% in 2019 to 16%.
16%, that's a significant jump. Suggests maybe a broader cultural current.
Could be.
What's really fascinating here is that convergence. You have these seemingly separate worlds, extreme intellect and deep spirituality, coming together in a very public way.
Yeah.
If you connect Kim's declaration with those wider trends like rising religious interest among young people, it really pushes back against simple narratives about inevitable secularization. It suggests the landscape of belief in modern societies may be more complex, more dynamic than we sometimes assume.
Yeah, definitely food for thought. Okay, finally. Post 9 from @Terrible808. This one went pretty viral. It's about WNBA player Sophie Cunningham getting ejected from a game.
Okay, what happened?
She was ejected for standing up for her teammate, Caitlin Clark, during an on-court incident.
Defending her teammate. Clark's been getting a lot of attention, both positive and negative.
Exactly. And the result? Cunningham's jersey apparently sold out almost immediately.
Wow. So instant fan support, tangible impact. The user who posted, Terrible, even said she bought one.
Yeah. It clearly boosted Cunningham's profile and resonated with fans. And this is all happening while the WNBA itself is getting way more attention, right? Partly because of players like Cunningham and Clark.
Definitely. You see higher ratings, more discussion. It lines up with other recent highlights, like Alicia Gray setting records for the Atlanta Dream. There's momentum.
There really seems to be.
Beyond just this one incident, and it raises a really interesting question, doesn't it? What does this surge in WNBA interest tell us about sports fandom today? It suggests maybe these individual player stories, these moments of, perceived loyalty or authenticity can really drive engagement and impact the league's overall popularity. Seems like women's basketball is really building something powerful right now. Outro. So after digging through all that, what does it all mean for you listening in? Across these posts, I think there's a really clear common thread, just the incredible pace of change. And this constant back and forth between innovation, policy, and, just human behavior. You see it in the AI talent wars, the push for robotaxes, those complex debates over geopolitics, faith. It all just reminds you how interconnected everything is.
I completely agree. It's all tangled together. And what really stands out to you from this deep dive, maybe it's just how fast AI is moving, or maybe the persistent challenges of bringing manufacturing home, or even how much personal beliefs can shape public conversations. I think these sources are a great reminder that being truly well-informed isn't just about collecting facts. It's about seeing that complex web, how things connect.
Absolutely. And maybe that leaves you with a question to think about. As information just keeps flooding in faster and faster, how do you actively choose to engage with all these different perspectives? How do you build your own comprehensive picture?
Yeah, something to chew on. We really hope this deep dive gave you some valuable insights, maybe some things to think about, and definitely a shortcut to understanding the discussions shaping our world right now, even the contradictory ones. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep digging deeper.